your forecast first. Sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
It's been another hot and humid day, and we've had more showers and storms pop up in the heat of the afternoon. In terms of the number of storms today, we haven't had them as much as the past few days, but they have definitely packed a punch, especially in Rantoul, where there's been a lot of rain with that cell moving through. We have 88 degrees in Champaign, 90 in Decatur, 92 in Lincoln, and 90 in Pontiac, and we're looking off to the northwest towards that cell from our Bratcher weather camera on our Roofing Dog iNet. Winds overall, though, not too bad unless you are near one of these storms. Out of the south, up trend 15 miles per hour. We actually have a better chance of storms overnight tonight with a line coming through. Some of those could be strong to severe, and so we'll time things out and show you the details of that coming up. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
Now from WCIA 3 News.
Big changes are on the way to high school sports. The new rules from the IHSA. Plus, a U of I police officer is out of a job. What he's accused of doing.
This statue of former slave owner and U.S. Senator Stephen Douglas has stood on the Capitol for more than a century. Why Speaker Madigan says it should come down.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 5.
We didn't quite maybe expect it to drastically change where the mandate was all kids must wear masks.
Following all the rules here.
New guidelines are out for high school athletes just 6 days after the IHSA moved to its phase 4. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Roscoe. The big changes, masks for everyone and no contact. Our sports director, Brett Behrens, has been breaking news on this story online all day. He's with us now. So why the change?
Well, that's a good question, right? The IHSA says it wants to align more with the Illinois State Board of Education guidelines. We got a copy of the email Executive Director Craig Anderson sent to athletic directors. It has not been released formally, but he said recent concerns from school administrators across the state are also a contributing factor for the changes. Masks must be worn by everyone, including athletes. That was the original email sent out about 12:30, but within the last hour, a second email was sent to ADs saying if a student is outside and practicing social distancing, they will not be required to put on a mask. No contact is allowed. That means scrimmages have been eliminated for football, volleyball, basketball, and more. That comes less than a week after they were approved. This has all been approved from the ISBE and Governor's office.
It's going to be absolutely terrible. There's just no way around it. You know, you can't sugarcoat it and say, oh, it'll be easy. But the fact of the matter is you cover your mouth, and it makes it more difficult to breathe. And that's something we're going to have to adapt to. I know our coaches will look out for our athletes and give them additional breaks.
The IHSA prefaced all the changes with the fact that more adjustments could come in the next few weeks. That was Rantoul Athletic Director Travis Flessner. Just chatted with him a few moments ago, and he just said all this kind of caught him off guard because, look, we had just got to a point last Friday, Jennifer, where we felt like we could move forward with these contact days.
Okay, so I want to know, though, scrimmage, I hear scrimmage and I think, so they can't play against each other, say, in a game, a practice game. Are we talking about like they can't hit even for a second? Nothing.
Yes. This essentially just takes us back to the stage 1 is what it was referred to the first time. Now phase 3. So we're essentially back a month from where we started, where weightlifting, minimal things, balls still can be used, but just you're going to have to go against air in a football sense.
Or use practice dummies.
It can't even use that in a sense.
Oh,
that's
really?
Contact. Yeah.
Oh,
so
contact with a non-person.
No contact.
Okay. Brett, thank you. Danville Area Community College is helping students get back to learning in the classroom. They're collecting face masks for a grade school. WCIA 3's Jamie Mays has more.
Employees at Danville Area Community College are trying to ease the burden of back-to-school time for parents. They started collecting masks for students at Mead Park Elementary School this week. The project is part of a challenge the president offered DAC employees. It's called the Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. The concept comes from a book about creating company-wide initiatives. The Dean of College Education chose to build a relationship with the elementary school months ago. She's hoping to get young students to think about college. And in the process, the schools have found ways to help each other. They're hoping the masks will make a big difference for families.
We really want to empower students to stay in the classroom, and we do that by providing masks. So that's not the excuse to not be in school.
They want masks of all sizes and kinds. They can be dropped off at their information office. In Danville, Jamie Mays, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
DAC will collect masks until July 31st. They plan to give them to the school in time for the kids' return. Coronavirus cases are up in the state. More than 1,000 positive tests were announced today. The total so far is more than 150,000. The recovery rate is at 94%. 20 more people have died. That total is now more than 7,100. And dozens of jobs could be cut at one community college because of COVID-19. Parkland College in Champaign is facing a nearly $5 million budget deficit. They hope to curb some of that by having people choose to quit, but not enough took that option. The college is now saying 65 jobs could be cut to balance the budget. They say no decisions have been made about which roles would be impacted. The Decatur School Board is working on making the district more inclusive to LGBTQ+ students. A former student wrote some guidelines for members to consider, and she based her ideas off of her past experiences. WCIA3's Cole Hankey talked with her today.
Nobody knows the hardships of going through childhood, being excluded, discriminated against, and mistreated better than somebody who has experienced it themselves. That is why Alana Banks took it upon herself to write a new rule book on inclusivity for LGBTQ+ children at Decatur Public Schools. Banks transitioned after she graduated from high school, but when she was in school, she was identified as a gay male. She wants to make sure other kids don't go through what she did.
At the time, I did not think that I would actually be able to transition because of the way that things were and the way that I grew up and the environment of Decatur Public Schools. But once I transitioned, I figured that I had to put something like this into place for the next generation of students.
The 14-page document outlines new rules, like schools not requiring students to list their gender and laying out specific bathroom and locker room rules. The policies are based heavily on similar proposals from LGBTQ+ advocacy groups.
I wanted something that the school board could see and that they could clearly understand.
Reporting in Decatur, I'm Cole Hankey, WCIA3, your local news leader.
The district says it's excited to review the guidelines that Banks proposed. That'll happen next week at its policy meeting. For a full outline of Banks' plan, just go to our website, WCIA.com. A U of I police officer has been fired after he was accused of sexual misconduct. Brian Tyson was suspended without pay last December. He was later discharged in January. Arbitration was supposed to happen this week, but it won't be happening. WCIA3's Courtney Bunting is live in our newsroom. So, Courtney, what changed?
Well, Jennifer, essentially they reached an agreement, so they say it's now considered resolved. That's according to the university. Now, so for some background on this, the Office for Equity and Access decided back in January that Tyson violated the sexual misconduct policy. But Tyson felt it wasn't fair for him to be discharged, so he asked for arbitration. That basically means a settlement outside of court. But the university said he was discharged for just cause. In the agreement that was sent to us and was reached recently, it says Tyson was fired back in February. Tyson also agreed to never try to work at the university again. Tyson also has a no-contact order between he and the victims. I reached out to the university to get more details, but they said they aren't able to tell us anything else aside about those accusations. Reporting live in the newsroom, Courtney Bunting, WCIA3, your local news leader.
Courtney, thank you. Now, another former U of I police officer was in court earlier this week. Gerald Sandage is accused of sexual assault, abuse, and intimidation. He was arrested in April and is in the Piatt County Jail. He'll be back in court next month. We have an update from the story we brought you this afternoon. A missing teenager from Vermillion County has been found. 16-year-old Olivia Bishop is from Ridge Farm. She was last seen at her family's home. The Vermillion County Sheriff's Office says she was located in a rural area in Danville this afternoon. Some people aren't fond of wind farms near their towns, but people here say the reason they're against it isn't what you think. Plus, statues have been torn down across the U.S. This one could be the next to fall at the state capitol.